This woman has been identified in the way through which we've discovered through our agency work. This is relatively new. This is very much thanks to the work that we're doing within our systems over recent years to spot the level of foreign interference that can come into our country and, importantly, look at democracy and potential interference. The other factor is that we are also looking at potential changes to our laws. So the notice today has gone out to highlight as well that currently the level of action that we can take, and I say we, the state, security services, police and CPS, this is under the criminal thresholds. So by putting this alert out today, it puts MPs on notice, it gives the alert about this individual, the type of activity that this individual has been involved in. This is a notice that has been issued in conjunction with MI5, but through the Parliamentary Security Directorate, because this is about MPs and about democracy and about Parliament. And so it's the Speaker and the Parliamentary Security Directorate that have chosen the timing of this. And of course, as I've said, the investigation has been ongoing, and there's been a lot of work that's taken place. We live in a world where we have other adversaries, and they all look to interfere or, come into our country in some shape and way. We are big players internationally. The United Kingdom, our place in the world is very strong, and so we're naturally a country of interest. I think it's fair to say in the future we'll see more alerts of this nature because of the level of intelligence and security work and the way our system is geared to spot this type of hostile activity.
A Chinese spy outed by MI5 targeted the highest levels of government, including former prime ministers. It was revealed last night. In an unprecedented move, spy chiefs yesterday issued a security alert to MPs over Solicitor Christine Lee, 58. She sought to influence a string of politicians and succeeded in establishing powerful links right to the top of the British establishment, security sources said. A warning memo sent to MPs said her political interference activities on behalf of the Chinese Communist Party have been secretly monitored by the security services for years. The twice-married mother of two from the West Midlands has openly given around £670,000 to the Labour Party since 2005, including donating more than £600,000 to Brent North MP Barry Gardner, who employed her son. But yesterday, it was revealed she also courted a wide range of Tory and Labour MPs, cultivating contacts with cabinet ministers and prime ministers, in what was described by MI5 as a deeply sinister campaign of interference across British democracy. Last night the Home Secretary Priti Patel warned of more national security alerts to follow, saying the UK had other adversaries who would look to interfere or come into our country in some shape and way. In an extraordinary security scandal, the communist agent was welcomed into Downing Street in 2019, where she received an award from then Prime Minister Theresa May in recognition of her contribution to good relations with China. The award was rescinded last night, but Mrs. May praised her at the time for promoting engagement, understanding, and cooperation between the Chinese and British communities in the UK. Adding, "I also wish you well with your work to further the inclusion and participation of British Chinese people in the UK political system." And she received a Woman of the Year gong from the GG2 Leadership Awards in 2013. Miss Lee also formed close links with David Cameron when he was Prime Minister, as the only Chinese member of his 2010 business delegation to China. Last night there were questions about how she managed to get so close to Downing Street, given her prominent position within the hostile state, as a photograph emerged of her shaking hands with Chinese President Xi Jinping. The impeccably connected Chinese spy hid in plain sight, while cozying up to MPs by offering donations, hampers and paying for trips abroad. Miss Lee has been chief legal advisor to the Chinese Embassy in London and a legal advisor to the Overseas Chinese Affairs Office, an agency overseen by the United Front Work Department, UFWD, which manages the vast network of influence of the Chinese Communist Party, CCP. Since 2005, she has donated large sums to Labour. She gave about £670,000 to the party, mostly to Jeremy Corbyn ally Mr. Gardner, almost all of it for his staffing costs. In 2014, She helped sponsor a Chinese Liberal Democrats dinner to support the party's then candidate for Somerton and Frome, Sarah Yong, according to the alert sent to all MPs and peers in Westminster yesterday. She also made covert payments to serving and aspiring MPs on behalf of politicians in China and Hong Kong. The MI5 message said, the UFWD seeks to cultivate relationships with influential figures in order to ensure the UK political landscape is favourable to the CCP's agenda, and to challenge those that raise concerns about CCP activity, such as human rights. Lee has been engaged in the facilitation of financial donations to political parties, parliamentarians, aspiring parliamentarians, and individuals seeking political office in the UK. In an accompanying letter, Commons Speaker Sir Lindsay Hoyle said among those targeted was the now disbanded Chinese in Britain all-party parliamentary group, of which Mr. Gardner was chairman. Last night there was no sign of her at the £985,000 home on a gated estate in Solihull, West Midlands, which she shares with her British solicitor husband. Ms. Patel said it was deeply concerning that an individual, who has knowingly engaged in political interference activities on behalf of the Chinese Communist Party, has targeted parliamentarians. But she suggested the activity was under the criminal threshold. The Home Secretary warned, we're speaking specifically right now about the CCP, China, but we live in a world where we have other adversaries, and they all look to interfere, or come into our country in some shape and way. We are big players internationally. The United Kingdom, our place in the world is very strong. And so we're naturally a country of interest. I think it's fair to say in the future, we'll see more alerts of this nature. It comes at a time of hardening attitudes toward China at the top of government, culminating most recently in a diplomatic boycott of the Winter Olympics. Sir Ian Duncan Smith, who has been involved in helping Hong Kong Chinese people flee the communist regime, expressed concern they could now be at risk as a result of Lee's activities.